Hello and welcome to exercise 67, creating a squeeze bottle, in your Rhino Training Manual Level 1. For this exercise, we will be using the auxiliary model called squeeze bottle. So let's go ahead and get started. Now keep in mind that this exercise is pretty straightforward. If you'll notice in your layers panel, there are a substantial amount of layers that have been created for you, so you can, have an easier time navigating this exercise. And also on that note, keep in mind that we will be going back and forth between layers in this exercise. So let's go ahead and get started. And we can do so by turning off the construction layer and revealing the bottle curves layer. Next, we're going to create surfaces for the bottle, and we're going to begin with this small ellipse here by creating a planar surface, and surface is abbreviated as SRF in the command bar, and then hit enter. And if you change your viewport style to rendered, right, you can get a pretty good preview of the surfaces as you create them. Next, we're going to create the primary surface of the squeeze bottle. So go ahead and select the large ellipse at the bottom and the circle at the top. And we're going to create the surface using the sweep to command. So go ahead and type that into your command bar. And since we have already selected our cross-section curves, now we need to select the sweep shapes, right? In this case, it's going to be this blue profile curve. So go ahead and select that and then enter or right click when done. Then you will get your sweep to rail options dialog box, right? And just so that it's a pretty uniform kind of sweep here, I will check the box that says refit rails. And I do want a closed sweep, so I'm also going to make sure that the closed sweep box is also checked, and then I can hit OK. Next, I'm going to orbit my way around to the bottom of the bottle in my perspective viewport, and I'm going to create a blend surface to kind of close this gap between the ellipse surface and the bottle surface. So next, I'm going to hide the rail curves layer and the profile curves layer in my layers panel. And then I'm going to start the blend surface command in my command bar. For the first edge, I'm going to select the edge of the ellipse surface. For the second edge, I'm going to select the edge at the bottom of the bottle surface. Next, you might want to zoom in for this next part, because now we need to drag the seams so that they are even in the same place. In this case, I'm going to be lining them up to my quadrant O-snap, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, right? Make sure that box is checked, and that way you can grab that O-snap when you get to it. There we go. And this seam seems to be already on the quadrant O-snap, so I'll go ahead and leave that be, and now I can hit enter. And keep in mind, when you see your Adjust Surface Blend dialog box, this is also where you can massage the curves in the blend surface as well. And currently I have Grid Snap and O-snap on, so I'm going to go ahead and turn those off so I have a little bit more control of these curves. And then hit OK when you're done. Next thing we're going to do is join all three of these surfaces together. So go ahead and hold down Shift on your keyboard and multi-select all three of these surfaces and then type in join in your command bar to join them all together. Next, we need to make this a solid form, and it is currently kind of a hollow surface situation. So we're going to do this by selecting the surface of the bottle and then typing in the command cap into the command bar. And now we have effectively closed and capped this surface of the squeeze bottle into a solid object. Next, we're going to flatten the sides. In this part of the exercise, you will create custom surfaces to trim an area on each side of the bottle for a label. the new surface will have curvature in only one direction. So right here in your layers panel, go ahead and reveal the layer called cut curves. And we're going to use these 3 curves to create a lofted surface, which we can then use to trim the surface of the bottle, right? So go ahead and type in loft in your command bar, enter, and now select the curves. Now it's important to not only select the curves in the same kind of location, right? Notice I'm clicking towards the top of the curves, but also to select the curves in order so that you have a loft that is correct, right? So the second click, and lastly, my third click, and then enter or right click when done. And then you'll get your loft options dialog box and you can click OK. There we go. Now we have that lofted surface. Now we need a mirrored copy of this surface on the other side of the bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and move to my right viewport to mirror this surface using the z-axis. And I'm using grid snap so I can actually catch the z-axis and use it as my mirror plane, like so. And now you'll see you have 2 of those lofted surfaces symmetrical to each other on the bottle surface, right? Next, we're going to actually do a Boolean difference command to separate the differences. However, before we do so, we do need to make sure that the direction of the normals for these lofted surfaces is in the correct direction, right? So I'm going to full screen my perspective viewport, and I'm going to begin the direction command in the command bar by typing in dir, enter. Now I'm going to select the lofted surfaces to display their direction, the direction of their normals, and then enter, and you'll notice that the normals are going outwards, right? And in this case, we need these normals to be pointing inwards towards the center of the squeeze bottle. So we need to change their direction. And to do this, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is click one time on the surface that you wish, to change the direction of the normals, and it will flip those arrows in the other direction. And then you can repeat the process for the other surface until both of them have normals that are pointing inwards towards the center of the squeeze bottle. And then when you are done, you can hit enter or right click with your mouse. Now we can go ahead and run the Boolean difference operation, which is over here in my toolbar. It's the second option, right? Boolean difference. And remember, if you hover your mouse over the icon, it'll tell you what it is. For the select surfaces or polysurfaces to subtract from, we are going to be subtracting from the squeeze bottle. So go ahead and select the squeeze bottle and then enter to continue. Now select the surfaces or polysurfaces to subtract with. In this case, that's going to be the lofted surfaces, and then enter when done. Okay, and you see it has now trimmed the bottle according to these lofted surfaces, right? So now we can either delete these lofted surfaces, or you can place them in a layer and hide them. And if you notice, we have a layer provided to us here called cut surface, abbreviated as SRF. So we can go ahead and select these layers and go to their properties tab and just change the layers from there, and it'll hide them, right? Now we can also go back and hide the cut curves, right? And the next thing we're going to do is work on the top surface of the bottle, right? So if you come over here to your layers panel, you'll notice you have a layer called bottle top curve. Go ahead and reveal this layer, and there you have this kind of profile curve that we can use for a revolve command to create the bottle top surface, right? So for the next step, I'm going to go ahead and be able to see, I want to be able to see all 4 of my viewports, right? And now I'm going to type in revolve, right? And since I already had the curve selected when I initiated the command, it's already jumped to the next step of the command. which is the start of revolve axis. Right here, go ahead and type in the number 0 in your command bar and hit enter. For the end of revolve axis, pick another point that's either up or down from the first point that you establish in the axis. So in other words, I'm just going to move upwards and click upwards in the z-axis, and that establishes that end of the axis. Now it wants to know the start angle. Right here, go ahead and move your cursor over to your command bar and click where it says full circle. Now you have effectively created the bottle top, right? Now go ahead and select the bottle top surface and the bottle surface, and let's do a Boolean union to join those two together. And just to kind of wrap up this exercise, note that you will also have a cap layer. So you can reveal those to kind of finish off this exercise. And that concludes exercise 67, creating a squeeze bottle.